All right, welcome to the Championship Mindset Podcast again. Here's the thing, you probably noticed this already, but we're taught what to think and almost never taught how to think, right? And when you realize your mind and mindset isn't part of the puzzle, it is the puzzle. Imagine how everything can change. Confidence, resilience, performance, flow. And this podcast, it's for athletes, coaches, parents, anyone who wants to be better, perform better, live better, be better. I'm Spencer Senn. My own sports career ended in one snap, and also I lost my identity in that moment. My life spiraled out of control. Until years later, then I got resources and was trained by the world's top mindset experts to master my thinking and control my emotions under pressure. Now, my calling to change the world, literally starting with kids, athletes 10 to 18, helping them to unlock their true code to greatness through my I.G.O.A.T mental method. Fast, easy, fun, permanent. And today's guest, he's more than proof that mindset shapes everything. Mr. Jeff Klunke grew up in Wisconsin, went off to college. That didn't work out so well. Same for me. He joined the Marines, serving 8 years in chemical and biological defense. Even with some vision difficulties, he trained with live nerve agents. It's like juggling chainsaws blindfolded. After service, and thank you for your service, by the way, he finished college and crushed it in medical device sales, winning awards, building teams, supporting surgeons in the OR. And because average is not his thing, he became a bodybuilding champ. Every time I see him, this guy's in better shape. He now runs the Gameday men's health clinic in Texas, helping men optimize hormones, strength, life. Jeff, welcome, man. Let's dive in. How are you today?
I'm good, Spencer. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And recently, a couple of years ago, I learned that Jeff is my cousin-in-law. So that's how we ended up connecting and having him come on. You grew up in Wisconsin, right, Jeff? Adopted, Midwest roots, Midwest values. What did those early years teach you?
It was interesting. I was born in Chicago and was adopted. And when I was adopted, my parents were from Wisconsin, and it was great. I mean, Midwest, it was always cold and snowy, but the values that I learned living there, growing up there, the people there, and certainly my family, both my immediate family and my extended family in Wisconsin, I learned an awful lot about hard work, loyalty, family, and God.
Cool. I was adopted as well. Have you ever had any issues being adopted? And the reason I ask that, I have siblings that struggle with being adopted. I never did. But did you ever find, and one of the things for me, I always felt out of place in the family. I was in the middle. But did you ever find any challenges with being adopted?
When I was younger, I didn't. My parents were really forthright in telling me about the fact that I was adopted, what that means, why I was adopted. What's really ironic is after I was adopted 3 years later, my mom actually was able to get pregnant. So I have 2 younger brothers who were not adopted. And so, when everything was explained to me and I look at my younger brothers, I'm like, it didn't feel any different, right? So, growing up, I didn't feel any different. It really wasn't until I think it was 2015, 2016, where I actually found my biological mother and learned an awful lot about the circumstances and how I came to be in that type of situation. That's what really changed me, because now I got a glimpse into, okay, if I wasn't adopted, my life would be tremendously different and most likely not for the better.
Yeah, we have that in common, which we spoke about before. I probably wouldn't even be alive in my own scenario. And then, so were you an athlete growing up and through high school? And was that a focus for you to continue on when you went to Southern Illinois? Or what was your focus in your transition in that? And how did you deal with that mentally?
Well, when you live in the Midwest, I mean, when you get to about 5 or 6 years old, you're automatically put on a hockey team, right? So you don't have a choice. And that's what my parents did. Both myself and my two younger brothers played sports. We played hockey was the big sport, of course, but we also played t-ball. I played football in high school. So I did play several different sports. I continued with hockey throughout all the way through high school. Played on the high school team. Didn't play in college. There was a lot of other things, especially my freshman year of college, that I was more focused on, which we can talk about in a second here. But I was always athletic. In fact, even after in my 30s, I started to coach high school hockey. So I was out there on the ice with the kids and remained active.
Wow. And sometimes your upbringing and the establishing of moving forward, puts you into situations and develops things. And one of those was when you went to college, and for me as well, right? We talked about that a little bit. Why don't you share what happened when you transitioned from high school to college and really had your first, would you consider that as like your first real major challenge?
Oh, most definitely. Self-inflicted challenge. And so, yeah, my parents were very supportive, and this is back in the 80s. I'm dating myself, but tuition was a lot less expensive. So they were helping, obviously, to pay for college. And I had an option of picking a school in state. At the time, I was in Illinois. And so I picked Southern Illinois University, which was the furthest in-state school from my home you can get. It was like an 8-hour drive down 57. And ironically enough, at the time, this is back in the late 80s, Southern Illinois University was one of the major party schools in the United States. You only had to be 18 to get in the bars, and I was not emotionally mature enough to handle that type of freedom. And had a heck of a good time my freshman year, but I think my BAC was higher than my GPA, and didn't do well enough to be invited back next year. So had to go back to my parents with the tail between my legs saying I flunked out of college.
Yeah. And what did they say?
Well, with the Wisconsin accent, figure it out now. It's all on you. If you want to go to college, it's all on you. You're paying for everything. So it was an eye-opening experience.
Well, that's awesome that, sometimes those early wake-up calls and disciplines from your parent, because really what they were saying is, we're giving you tough love here, buddy, right? They end up shaping us later. So thank God that they had the mindset, the presence of mind to not coddle, right? Not, hey, they leaned in and that pushed you further, right? So then what? Then that transitioned you going into the Marines. Can you give us what you were looking at there and how your mind was like, hey, this is what I should do? What were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking I need some help. I mean, I needed to figure some things out. I looked at some of my friends who graduated college or graduated high school with me, and some of them went into jobs right away. Some of them, were just kind of still living with their parents. And I thought, I need to do something different, and put two and two together at the time. And GI Bill was obviously a great opportunity for anybody to get college paid for. With joining the military. And so I thought, well, I can probably get two really good things out of this if I join the military. Number one, I can get help paying for college. And number two, I can get the discipline and the maturity that I desperately need in order for me to do anything in life. And so I joined the Marine Corps. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going all in. I'm going to go to the hardest branch I could possibly find, and that's the Marine Corps.
Excellent. Yeah, I was going to ask why the Marine Corps, but yeah. So, sounds like you cared, right? That's hard to teach. So you had that, you looked at the scenario and you looked forward, right? Future visioning, we call it, where you looked forward and said, this is what I want. This is what's important. Then you put a plan together. Then you took action. Then you had that the result, right? This is how our minds work. What comes back then, what we do with that information carries us forward even more or not. It halts us, right? Yeah. So we were talking prior and you were saying that you were having some challenges with vision and different things like that, but you ended up working with, chemical warfare, basically, right? You specialize in chemicals and biological defense, even with those vision difficulties where training with live nerve agents. What did that experience teach you about yourself, resilience, whatever?
Well, it taught me an awful lot. I unfortunately had, like you mentioned, I had really bad eyesight. My eyesight back then was 24/40. So when you join the military, obviously in boot camp, you can't wear contacts. They give you those for what we call birth control goggles. They're the really thick, dark rim, ugly glasses that you have to wear in boot camp.
They're cool now.
Yeah, they're coming back, I guess. And what's ironic about that, and two things. When I was in boot camp, when we were doing the rifle qualification, I actually came up as a company high shooter, even with those glasses. So I was really proud of that. But in the chemical weapons training that I went through, my MOS school, we worked with live nerve agents like Senn, VX, and radiological materials as well. And so when we go through that training, it's extremely intense. It's very stressful. You have to wear our what's called mop gear, right? Yeah, we're all mopped up. We got all of our protective equipment on in the mask. But because you're only in training for about 8 to 12 weeks, the government doesn't want to invest in these inserts that you have to put in your mask if you have to wear glasses, because you can't wear glasses with a mask on, and you can't wear contacts.
That's kind of crazy.
It's just nuts. So when we went down below ground about 4 stories to work in that environment, working with nerve agents, we went into a room. You already have very limited vision in those masks as it is, and then with 24/40 vision, I was really it was really stressful, because if I made one wrong move, or I break the seal of my mask, you're dead in about 3 minutes. So it taught me an awful lot of being able to control my emotions, to be really focused on what I'm doing, and not necessarily focus on the danger, but focus on the mission at hand.
Yeah. Well, and then also controlling internal dialogue. Oh my God, if I do that, what you focus on, you get more of. So if you focus on making mistakes, what's going to happen? If you focus on succeeding the mission or whatever your purpose is, you're in there. And like you said, managing your states, that's critical. Just like we talked prior. I mean, it's a horrible event that happened in this country the other day with Charlie Kirk. I mean, that young man's life is over, and the shooter's life is over, right? Why? Because he had an ideology, an opinion, a belief, and he couldn't manage his states. He couldn't manage with the right intentions. He was literally influenced by other information out in the world to have this perspective and this bang, and look what it did. So the psychological things that I can imagine what you went through just to do it with limited eyesight, the deadly chemicals, all of it, the outcome, because what are you doing? You're handling something with a purpose of what? Killing, right?
Right.
In war. So so man, thank you for your service. Thank you for doing all of that and working through with the type of mindset that you had learned to bring to that scenario. So coming back, transitioning out of the military, I've talked to a lot of people. It's not very easy sometimes. Was that hard for you? You went back and finished your degree, if I remember correctly, and started sales in the medical field?
Yeah, so after active duty, I transitioned to the reserve. So I still continue to be in the Marine Corps, but in the reserve capacity. And and yes, I went back to college. This time I didn't go back to Southern Illinois. I went to Northern Illinois, and then finished my degree. Yeah, absolutely. My degree was really something interesting as well. I originally was going to get a degree in political science, and about my junior year of college, I realized that it is not something I would enjoy. I ran for political offices in the college. Student senator. I was elected student senator. I was on the student judicial committee. I was vice chairman of the College Republicans at the college. And my experiences there really changed my mind in wanting to get into politics. It wasn't something I could do and be happy. and obviously he's even crazier today. But yeah, it was a little bit easier of a transition for me, only because I was a little bit older. I went in the Marine Corps. I was almost 22, so it was a little bit easier for me than a lot of these guys that go in at 17, 18 and get out at 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your plan was not to stay in; it was to help you more propel into the next thing. But it sounds like, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I never went into the military. I never went in the Marine Corps with the mindset it was going to be a career for me. I wanted all the benefits and advantages that you receive in becoming a Marine, and the training, the discipline, everything that they teach you to help me in the civilian side, and of course, with the GI Bill helping me with college.
Yeah, and based on what you were saying, I heard you saying that, or what I was getting out of it is, when you wanted to go for political science, you ended up having awareness and open mind to be like, okay, maybe learn more or feel into it more, and you're like, no, I don't think that's me anymore. But you took the next step and moved forward instead of being complacent. That's huge. I mean, that's huge in anything. So it's funny how the detours set us up for something bigger. Where the challenge is making it better, creating that path, making us better. So medical device sales. I mean, you can be one of the. Not only can it be one of the toughest fields, but you have to deal with a lot of different people, from a sales team to the outside world, to doctors, to gatekeepers, all of that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, you got your shot. What was that like, stepping into that? And what did you discover about yourself in that arena?
Well, that transition to medical device sales was extremely difficult. Like you alluded to, there are a lot of moving parts. You have to have a pretty large bandwidth to be in medical device sales. It's not a situation where, I came from building material sales. So I was selling roofing and insulation to general contractors and roofers in Chicago, which is a totally different customer base.
And that was right after college, right?
Right after college, yeah. So when I transitioned, I was lucky enough to get into medical device sales with Boston Scientific. It was extremely difficult. Their training process is very thorough. It's extensive. And, you literally, there's going to be a day after training where you're going to be the company representative in that operating room with that doctor or surgeon using your device. And when that device doesn't work properly, or there's a problem with it, there's no phone a friend. You're it. You have to have all the answers. You have to be able to help that surgeon or that doctor out of that predicament to ensure, obviously, that the patient has a positive outcome. And I can absolutely recall the very first case that I went to. It was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at Aurora Baycare in Green Bay, and I was in a tracheobronchial stent where we put a metal tracheobronchial stent in a patient, typically for throat cancer. So it's a palliative treatment to give them a better quality of life as long as we can. But as the doctor was deploying the stent, it hung up, it got stuck. And so it occluded the airway. So all the machines are starting to beep. The anesthesiologist is starting to get all, he's standing up, he's talking to the doctor, and everything got super tense. And that doctor, I remember him, I won't mention his name, but he just turned to me and he calmly said, "Hey, Jeff, what do I do now?" And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, okay, stop. Let's just focus on what I was trained to do, and really call on the training that I went through, walk through the steps to troubleshoot the stent. When I obviously wouldn't tell the story if it wasn't a good ending. So was able to dislodge the device to the point where it was able to deploy properly. And so it turned out to be a very successful case. But man, I tell you, it was unbelievable. And then after that case, you would think one of two things can happen. I could go, I can't do this. This is too stressful. I mean, what happens if I got this wrong? This patient could have died.
Right.
Or, which is what happened with me, was like, hey man, I just did something that I've never done in my entire life. And I helped, a patient, and I helped a doctor in a situation that could have been really bad. And I love that. I love that responsibility and that pressure. And that was part of my training in the Marine Corps, is living under pressure, living and working in an environment that's extremely stressful.
Yeah, and without that, I mean, imagine most people aren't going to have that presence in that moment, even when you're like, holy shit. And same for me. I mean, situations where you just take what you've learned and now you apply it instead of being complacent, like we were talking before, and being put inside outside of your comfort zone creates that.
Yeah.
For me, it's a drive. It's like way better than any drugs I've ever done or alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So you then had a lot of success, leadership awards, national teams, shows how far mindset can take you, and the one going back to before, one of the things that you were saying about training in the medical field, man, it sounds like you got more training in that than you did with chemical weapons. I don't know.
We did.
Wow, that's crazy to me. But you, on top of all of that, then you transitioned into one day you woke up and you're like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder, right? How did that happen? Why that path?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. So it was back in 2015. I was just going through a divorce, and it was very painful. And one of the things, as I was going through that, with all the stress, anxiety, and emotion that goes along with something like that, I learned from other people's mistakes. And I saw a lot of my friends, a lot of guys that are going through a divorce, and they turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to food, all these really bad influences that'll make that situation much worse. And so I literally just woke up and said, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna focus on being healthier. So I stopped drinking. At the time, I was down to like 150 pounds. I wasn't eating much. It was very stressful, and I just found a trainer where I lived and started training in the gym. And up to that point, weightlifting per se was not something I did on a regular basis. I was always in relatively okay shape. I had a little bit of a dad bod going at that time before my divorce because I was comfortable. and so I hooked up with a trainer. I started lifting weights. I started drinking protein shakes. I started to learn what macros are, all that stuff. And my trainer at the time was a competitor, NPC competitor at Men's Physique, and very successful. He's won multiple times. He was in incredible shape. He's around the same age as I was. And so he really motivated me. He gave me the kind of the blueprint of what was needed in order to compete. Yeah. And he convinced me to do it. And I said, how am I never would have guessed in a million years I'd ever compete in a bodybuilding competition. I was always skinny. And so sure enough, in 2017, I entered my first bodybuilding competition.
Wow. That sounds pretty cool, man. And then you won several times, right? At least.
Yeah, it's an interesting sport. You learn an awful lot about yourself. It's obviously individual sport, but the processes, the planning, the consistency, the discipline, it goes all back to what I learned in the Marine Corps and what I did in medical device sales. So for me, the discipline, the food discipline, the consistency with my workouts, the intensity of my workouts, seeing the bigger picture, putting together a plan for the next 16 weeks, getting prepared to compete in a bodybuilding competition was something I actually enjoy. I really enjoyed that. I love the process. The show itself goes by in a matter of literally a blink of an eye, but it's the 16 weeks, 12 weeks, wherever long it takes to get ready for a show is something I really enjoy.
Yeah, and as you've been talking, it's showing that with intention, your mindset, with a direction, right? Then you have a plan, then you take action, and every layer of it just keeps building on top in your own life. And it's interesting, even if we do nothing, everything changes. I think a lot of people forget about that. So anyone having their hardest day right now, even if you don't do anything, it will change. That's life. Don't resist it, lean into it. So it's not just fitness, it's giving men back their energy, their drive, their idea, all of that stuff. Now we move into, how did you get involved with Gameday men's health?
Well, it's funny how life works. Obviously, being really health conscious and competing, I've competed since 2017. I've been fortunate enough to win 5 times. And over that period of time, I learned that I had, well, before that, let me back up. Right before my first competition, when I was training with my trainer, I realized there was something off. I know I'm older. I was 43 or 44 at the time. I know I'm older, but for some reason, like I'm working my butt off in the gym. I'm eating healthy. I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. I'm not doing anything with those bad habits, and nothing was really happening. And so it wasn't until one day where my primary care doctor ran my labs and told me I had low testosterone. And I said, well, what the hell is that? Like, I had no idea anything about hormones. I knew a lot about medical stuff, being in medical devices for so long, but not hormones. And so when she described it and I started doing some research, I'm like, man, these symptoms, fatigue, weight gain, bad sleeping habits, depression, brain fog. I had all that stuff. And so anyway, long story short, I got on testosterone replacement therapy. And as soon as I got my testosterone optimized to where it needs to be for me, all of a sudden, all that work and all that effort started to pay off. And that's really what fast forwarded me, not only just in bodybuilding, but also just in life. And so, Game Day for me was an opportunity to do something and invest in something that I'm super passionate about, that I've been personally involved in over 9 years now, being a patient myself. And, 3 out of 4 men one out of 4 men over 30 have low testosterone. They don't even know it. And so Game Day would fit the bill. I walk the walk as being a patient. I understand what it's like to have low testosterone. I understand what it's like when my testosterone's optimized. And for me to be able to help other men, it's been amazing. It's been really awesome. And my staff here has been great. And we have a lot of success stories. We have guys coming in all the time and think, man, I feel so much better. I feel like my old self again.
That's cool, man. And I gotta say, you're inspiring. You're inspiring me right now. And I love the fact that you keep an open mind, you keep learning, you keep stepping outside of your comfort zone, and look at where it's gotten you in your whole life, man. I mean, that's awesome. That's gotta feel really good. You gotta be feeling like yourself, where most people are disconnected from that. There's a question in the chat. Once you made up your mind, how did you find the right coach?
For bodybuilding, so that's a great question. At the time, I lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas, so it wasn't obviously a very large city. And so the number one, the trainer that I found was somebody that I had known from a gym that I used to go to in Hot Springs, and he was actually one of the more I wouldn't say famous, but more popular trainers in Hot Springs. His name is Richard Webb. Great guy, and he's still there. He's still training. He's got his own gym now. And for me, it just made sense going to a trainer that, again, walked the walk. The guy competed in NPC competitions many, many times, won, and he's won in the open class. So this guy's my age. He was in his 40s, and he's winning open class against 20-year-olds. So I know that he knows what he's talking about because he's done it himself. And so it really resonated with me. If I was going to do something completely out of my comfort zone, it really makes me feel confident that I found the right person, because I'm looking at their accomplishments, and what they've done is exactly what I want to do. And so it just made perfect sense for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like it's not based on theory. It's based on facts, right?
Yeah.
And we were having a discussion prior to coming on of what would it be like? Imagine if everybody on this planet communicated with facts instead of emotion and reaction. We would improve so fast, people wouldn't even recognize this planet. So, hey, man, you've been a Marine. Thank you for your service. Sales leader, bodybuilder, business owner. When you think about resilience, discipline, mindset, what's the code that you live by? And if you could pass down 1 or 2 lessons to the next generations, athletes, parents, coaches, entrepreneurs, what would you share with them? What would it be?
Well, for me personally, I have a lot of things that go through my head when I'm going through challenging situations.
Sure.
And there's a couple voices that I hear on a regular basis. Number one, my senior drill instructor, Sergeant Brewer. And I can't say exactly what he's saying to me, but it's a very motivating conversation. I remember him. He was
Colorful, right?
Yeah, it's very colorful. One of the toughest guys I've ever met. He really inspired me in that aspect. Also, my dad and my family. And what that's given me is over time, I've learned that there really is no one else on earth that's going to motivate me or keep me on track better than my own self.
Yeah.
And so I've really kind of looked inward more so than trying to find, the right song for the gym to motivate me, or, this book or that type of thing. I do that stuff too. But when it's really coming down to is when I'm in really difficult situations or very challenging situations, I always look inward, and I just pull from my past and say, look, I've done this, and I've done this. This has happened and I survived. And so I use that energy, that accomplishment feeling to feel like, I can tackle this too. And it just gives me some more confidence in myself.
Yeah. So is there any techniques that you use? This is just for me now. Is there any, do you meditate? Because one of the reasons I'm asking this question, it's so critical in my life that I've learned how to turn inward. And so for me, I meditate and I turn inward and I create silence. And it's different for everybody, but that silence actually brings information and answers when I pay attention. Is there anything that you do that helps that process, or is the process?
That's a great question, and that's one of the reasons why I was excited to talk with you. And I need help in that. I absolutely do. I see that I need some additional options, like you mentioned, that I don't do right now. I literally just put my head down. I just think about the Marine Corps. I think about if there's a mission or an objective that needs to get done, we just effing do it. You just put your head down and you do it. You don't do any of those other things. Now, I'm not in the Marine Corps anymore. I'm in the civilian world. I don't have to necessarily continue to always be like that. And so one of the things that I was hoping to get, from you and talking with you further is other options that I might have to help me with that, than other than just put my head down. Because I will tell you, on a personal side, my wife and I work together. We own a medical device sales and distribution company, and we sell medical devices to the VA. So my wife and I work together. That mindset doesn't work. Just telling her to just do it. It doesn't work, right? And she was never in the military. She's been super successful in her career and transitioned into medical devices to work with me, and so that's done an unbelievable job. But what you described are things that I need to do better to make me more compatible with the people that I work with, for sure, and especially my wife.
Yeah. And it's not just you, bud. It's literally every single human is the key word on the planet, because we all have outside experiences, influences, lots of negativity. And what you focus on, what you place your attention on, is what you get more of. Okay. You got that part down, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's things that you want outside of that, then we go into other areas and unlock that, because everyone has everything they need inside. So we can talk more about that obviously later, but yeah, man, great stuff. This was awesome. Thank you for sharing your story, your lessons, the grit. I know people listening got different aspects from you that can definitely help them. If somebody wants to follow you, learn more, or if they're in Texas and could benefit from your Gameday Men's Health, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so as far as Gameday Men's Health, Gameday Men's Health is the largest men's health organization in the country now. We have over 350 locations. You can go to Gameday Men's Health location finder wherever you live, and you can find the nearest Gameday location to you. My locations are in Kingwood, Texas, in Atascocita. We're just right outside of Houston. So definitely, I would encourage everyone to go to Gameday Men's Health, check it out, see what we have to offer. It's a concierge men's health care. It's something it's a lot different than what's out there now. So that's that for Gameday for sure. My personal Instagram is just Nuke Marines 5711.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, NUKE, Marines, MARINES, 5711. That was my MLS, is 5711. So,
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent, man. I didn't know that it was the largest in the nation. That's very
Yes.
cool that you're part of such a good organization. And to
It is.
everyone, everyone tuning in, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the replay. If you've got a 10-year-old to an 18-year-old athlete or child, and you want to see them unlock their code to greatness, or anyone for that matter, their identity, their confidence, their true best self, go to freedomandhealing.com, schedule a free discovery call. And we'll talk through it. And you will understand how the mental I.G.O.A.T program unlocks that easily, fast, permanently. Okay. And also go to my YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, share, www.youtube.com/@championship mindset -1. And you'll also find my links at the bottom of the screen there. And because you already know this, your mind is the most powerful computer in the world, right? And when you upgrade that software running your mind, you're automatically upgrading yourself, the world around you, and your world. Until next time, thanks for being here. Talk to you soon. See you soon.